This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Wednesday, March 15th. It is great to be back, and today's pod is the best one yet.
Great to see you after a 1-week paternity leave.
Jack, you're looking fantastic over there, honestly.
Did I miss anything while I was out?
Well, Jack, there was the Oscars. Michelle Yeoh won an Oscar.
Cool. Anything else?
Sunny D launched that orange hard seltzer. Apparently it tastes okay.
Anything else?
Well, March Madness just began and my bracket's already broken.
All right, good. That's all I missed. Great.
Oh, one more thing, Jack. Everyone thought the financial system was going to fall apart. A large bank went out of business. Molly and I had money there. We thought we lost it all. It was a whole thing.
We take 1 week off and the whole system almost falls apart.
Jack, what's our first story for our first pod back?
In the last week, the number one story has been what happened to Silicon Valley Bank.
So in under 4 minutes, Jack and I are going to tell you what happened at SVB with the Notorious B.I.G.
For our second story, Chick-Fil-A just announced a $1 billion plan to expand beyond the United States.
Because Chick-fil-A isn't a Swiss Army knife, it's a steak knife.
And our third and final story is Allbirds.
Allbirds.
For the first time, Allbirds just announced that their shoe sales shrank.
Because the entire fashion industry falls into one of 4 quadrants.
But before we hit that fantastic mix,
it is good to be back, and that is a fantastic mix, Jack.
Can we talk about the IBO that everyone's talking about?
Jack, the big IBO that just hit Wall Street. And what is an IBO?
An initial baby offering.
An initial baby offering. Coochie coo.
Last week on Tuesday morning at 3:10 a.m. Eastern Time, March 7th, our second baby boy, Brooks Kellen Kravici Kramer, came into the world.
Jack, baby Brooks, an unprecedented second ever IBO.
You ready for the stats on this kid?
Talk to me to the numbers, Jack. I want the numbers.
7 pounds, 15 ounces.
Okay, what kind of height are we talking on these numbers?
Let me check my notes. 20 inches.
Jack, based on our former bank careers, I gotta ask, what's the valuation on this brand new baby boy?
I looked up the poo multiple. He's worth a lift or two.
His diaper, it's at an all-time high.
And he's already disrupted the bassinet.
Okay, now, Jack, we gotta ask about the competitive field. What is going on over there in the Kravici Kramer household?
Mom is healthy. Baby's doing great. It was a wonderful delivery.
I heard that the nurses would have made Morgan Stanley jealous.
Nick, the high in the delivery room was incredible. It all happened so fast. Tears were shed.
Jack, call up TechCrunch. We got the fastest ever baby to become a unicorn.
Yes, we do. Thank you to all the Yetis and besties who sent me some incredible messages while I was gone.
I did love that green hat picture with the new baby. That was a good pic.
And thank you for your patience for giving me some uninterrupted dad time the past week.
The Yetis and I hated not having you, Jack. Wilder and the family, they kind of loved having you, Jack.
But the biggest thanks goes to Brooks' mom, Alex, who was once again a family MVP.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our besties who've been waiting a week for us to hit the pod?
We missed you. It's great to be back. Let's swaddle our 3 stories.
Coochie.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, it became the biggest financial news story in a decade.
It might feel like the system broke over the past week.
It may feel that way.
But it actually worked.
Jack and I have been figuring out over the last week, how are we going to tell the story of SVB? And we think the answer is with the Notorious B.I.G.
Shout out to Puff Daddy and Mace, because the more money we come across, the more problems we see.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I like it when you call me Big Papa.
That's for another story day.
Yetis, the more money we come across, the more problems we see. Biggie Smalls said it in 1997, and that line explains Silicon Valley Bank.
Silicon Valley Bank was the 16th largest bank in the United States.
Not too shabby.
It was worth $80 billion, which is 20 lifts.
And as the name Silicon Valley Bank suggests, it was a bank mainly, not exclusively, but mainly for tech startups.
In particular, the last few years, Silicon Valley Bank was getting all the money that venture capital was feeding into startups. BuzzFeed had its money there.
Etsy had their money there.
Roblox and Roku had their money there.
Yetis, if you ran a techish company by the bay and handed out free Patagucci fleeces every Christmas, you put your cash money into Silicon Valley Bank.
It was the cool bank for startups to keep their cash in.
And that's where rapper Biggie Smalls comes in. Because just when Silicon Valley Bank was flush with cash is when their problems began.
Yes. First, Silicon Valley Bank took all that money that was being deposited and made some major mistakes with it.
Yeah, they made a money mistake. They mismanaged and misinvested their customers' cash.
And then when the Fed raised interest rates, those bad investments like bonds did even worse.
Which led to the second problem. Silicon Valley Bank stopped getting money from all those startups about a year ago.
Instead of depositing money to Silicon Valley Bank, startups have been withdrawing as they've burned cash the past couple years.
Okay, so Jack, let's add this up for a second. Now, Silicon Valley Bank has less cash coming in from all those startups, and the investments it was making with what cash it had aren't doing that well.
Silicon Valley Bank was in a tight cash situation.
Which leads to the third problem facing Silicon Valley Bank.
The bank run.
The bank run.
Venture capitalists smelled smoke and yelled fire. They called every startup they invested in and told them to take all their money out of Silicon Valley Bank as soon as possible.
Here's the problem with the bank run. Once one company starts running on a bank, everyone starts running on a bank as they hear about the bank run.
Unconcerned Silicon Valley Bank might be in trouble, startups withdrew an incredible $42 billion in just one day from that one bank.
It was a full-on bank run. It took the bank down. As Biggie said, more money, more problems.
So the bank failed. And over the weekend, SVB customers were worried about their money, which made other people wonder, is my bank, which is not SVB, is my bank safe?
Funny you should mention that, Jack. I got a fun fact, full disclosure. This is Nick. And we do our banking and have our money and our mortgage at Silicon Valley Bank.
You must have been concerned. I remember once I sent money to your Silicon Valley Bank account.
Yeah, we still had some money at Silicon Valley Bank. Not all of it, but we had some, and I could not access the account on Friday, Jack.
Over paternity leave, I was a little worried for you guys.
I know. We were a little not sure what was happening either, Jack. Which leads to our takeaway. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Silicon Valley Bank?
The system didn't break. It actually worked.
Yetis, here's the surprise of this whole Silicon Valley Bank week. Stocks are now back to where they were from before the drama.
Because for a century, our institutions have been prepping for a crisis just like this one.
For example, 100 years ago, we created the FDIC to stop bank runs.
Up to $250,000 is insured by the federal government, so you don't worry about your bank going out of business.
And 15 years ago, we passed the Dodd-Frank Act to end too big to fail.
The biggest banks get stress tested to ensure that one of them failing doesn't bring other banks down.
And over the weekend, our institutions used both of those tools to find a solution by Sunday.
On Sunday night, the government announced they're going to protect all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank, even beyond the $250,000 cap, in order to end this crisis.
Now, Jack, we should sprinkle on a little context here. This is not a bailout, correct?
If you own Silicon Valley Bank stock, it's now worth $0. So yeah, it's not a bailout.
But if you're a customer with Silicon Valley Bank, like I am, you don't lose your money. You still have access to it.
And that's the point. They needed to instill confidence in the system.
Okay, now this whole situation, it is not over yet.
But through all the noise last week on Twitter, one thing is clear to us.
There was a lot of noise.
The system didn't break. It actually worked.
For our second story, Chick-Fil-A just announced a $1 billion plan to expand outside of America.
Because Chick-Fil-A is secretly the most lucrative kitchen in the U.S.
All right, Jack, I don't want to make this about me, but I got another full disclosure for you over here.
I know this one. You've never had Chick-Fil-A.
I never had Chick-Fil-A. And we have some money at Silicon Valley Bank, and I've never actually tried Chick-Fil-A.
So I went down to Atlanta, Georgia to watch the SEC championship game in 2008.
And
Georgia does Chick-Fil-A. It's all I ate the whole weekend.
growing up in New York, you just didn't see Chick-Fil-A. If you got a sandwich, you got pastrami. That's how it rolls.
But after 77 years, maybe you will see Chick-Fil-A Because Chick-fil-A is getting a passport.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A just announced they're expanding outside of North America to Asia and to Europe.
Chick-fil-A told the Wall Street Journal that they have a $1 billion plan to export their waffle fries, their hot sauce, and their pickles worldwide.
Can I please get some sauerkraut with this spicy deluxe? Is that too much to ask for?
Now, technically, Chick-fil-A has tried international study abroad before.
They have. They tried in the United Kingdom in 2019.
And they tried in South Africa in 1996.
And both of those attempts failed.
Oh, and if Chick-fil-A is going abroad, they're going to have to face KFC in their home turf.
Get these numbers from KFC.
KFC, ostensibly based in Kentucky, has 60% of their sales in Asia and Europe.
We repeat, the Colonel is selling 60% of his chicken to Asia and to Europe.
But Chick-fil-A is going to try anyway, despite those odds, because something is in the air.
Yetis, here's what Jack and I found so fascinating with this story. There's a reason that Chick-fil-A is on this international adventure from Milan to Minsk.
The reason is that Chick-fil-A is one of the smallest U.S. fast food chains, and yet it's the most lucrative too.
So Yetis, Jack and I jumped in T-Boy style, and we looked at the number of locations of Chick-fil-A. And by the number of locations, Chick-fil-A is the 25th biggest chain in the United States.
Then we looked at how big it is in terms of sales. And by sales, Chick-fil-A is the third biggest chain in the United States.
In fact, Chick-fil-A is only behind McDonald's and Starbucks when it comes to sales at fast food restaurants.
That is wild. Chick-fil-A only has 2,700 locations in the United States.
And how many does McDonald's have?
They have more than 5 times as many locations.
Okay, can we sprinkle on a little more context here, Jack?
So despite being outnumbered 5-1, Chick-fil-A is competing with Ronald McDonald.
Sit down, stand up, and stick that mayo in your face again.
In fact, the average Chick-fil-A location makes $6.3 million a year in sales.
That is 4 times more than the average KFC location.
That is 4 times more than the average Popeyes location.
The average Chick-fil-A is eating their lunch literally.
And Chick-fil-A is doing all that despite being closed every Sunday.
Okay, what we're trying to say here, besties, is that Chick-fil-A is juggling with one hand tied behind its back.
That's like Teddy Ballgame, the old Red Sox.
Yeah, the baseball player, Ted Williams, you were telling me about before the pod.
He had 521 homers despite missing several seasons being a soldier in World War II in Korea.
He could have had a lot more home runs if he wasn't fighting world wars.
Chick-fil-A and Teddy Ballgame both have asterisks for what more they could have done.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Chick-fil-A?
Are you a Swiss Army knife or a steak knife?
Now, Yetis, the way Jack and I see it, most companies fall into one of 2 categories. You're either a steak knife company or a Swiss Army knife company.
A Swiss Army knife does everything. Like McDonald's, they offer chicken, eggs, burgers, sausage, even fish.
Yeah, which may be Funa. But Chick-fil-A is like a steak knife. It does one thing and one thing only.
Chick-fil-A is extremely focused on poultry, and that has unlocked value.
For example, a simpler menu means a simpler supply chain, which means quicker preparation.
And quicker preparation lets it deliver fast food quicker, which leads to more sales.
And more sales lets them offer better wages, which means better customer service, which leads to more loyalty.
The fast food industry is an industry filled with Swiss Army knives.
But Chick-fil-A, they're winning with a steak knife.
And now a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
They say cash is king.
But most cash doesn't live like a king. It lives like a pawn.
Most cash does nothing. It's just sitting there, earning no or hardly any interest.
So how do you make your cash more royal?
Well, Robinhood offers 4.15% APY on your uninvested cash with Robinhood Gold.
You can earn 4.15% APY with Robinhood Gold's $5 a month membership.
That's how you make cash feel like royalty.
To get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and get your first stock for free.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY.
Certain limitations and terms apply. Rate is subject to change, and all investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Robinhood is not a bank. For our third and final story, by the way, you're looking great for the first pod back, Jack.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
I put myself together.
Yeah, put yourself up great.
It took me a while to put myself together.
I can tell. No, you can't tell.
I was wearing the same sweatpants and sweatshirt for like 4 straight days. It was really nice. Wilder and I wore the same outfits.
Interesting you're wearing sweatpants again for us today. Yetis, for our third and final story, Allbirds just announced that for the first time ever, Allbirds shoe sales actually fell.
Allbirds isn't a unicorn anymore. because it didn't stick to its quadrant.
Allbirds, they became a billion-dollar unicorn company by selling shoes made of plants and sheep's wool.
Allbirds created the Beyond Meat of footwear.
Yeah, Allbirds is like Stella McCartney got lost in a rainforest.
Now, for a while, Allbirds looked like it was going to be the next Nike.
It really did. I have a bunch of pairs still. Got my dad a pair. Got your dad a pair.
I got my father-in-law a pair.
Getting everyone a pair.
My father got Alex a pair.
And then Allbirds, based on Jack and me buying too many Allbirds, went public in 2021 at peak stock market frothiness.
Yeah, they went public at the peak of the stock market. But since that IPO, Allbirds stock is down a brutal 95%.
Jack, can we talk about the valuation for a second?
Their market cap was $4 billion in 2021.
Yeah.
Now it's down to $170 million.
And Allbirds sadly just announced their worst news yet.
Sales fell by 13% last quarter, and they expect 2023 to be twice as bad.
It was their first ever sales drop.
Now, Yetis, Nick and I want to go full project one way on you.
Yes, we do.
Here's the thing about Allbirds. Allbirds is deeply in the bottom left quadrant of fashion.
The bottom left quadrant of fashion. Besties, all fashion brands from Armani to Zara, they can be categorized into 4 quadrants based on 2 variables.
The 2 variables that form the X and the Y axis are comfort and style.
It's comfort and style. According to Twitter co-founder Ev Williams, each fashion quadrant is actually represented by one American city.
Let's start with the upper right quadrant of fashion.
Jack, the upper right quadrant of fashion is the stylish but not comfortable quadrant of fashion.
And that is represented by New York City.
Yeah, New York, you're wearing clothes that are stylish, but they're not that comfortable.
Let's move over to the upper left quadrant, which is both stylish and comfortable.
Stylish and comfortable, Jack, that would be Los Angeles.
That's LA. Now let's move down to the lower right. It's neither stylish nor comfortable.
Which American city, Jack, is neither stylish nor comfortable?
That's Washington, D.C.
No offense, D.C., they make our laws, but they're not that stylish or comfortable doing it.
We'll give them a pass. What about the bottom left? That's the one we're interested in for this story.
Right. What city is the bottom left quadrant, Jack?
That's the quadrant that is comfortable, but not stylish.
Well, Jack, I hate to say it, but I'm looking around our studio right now on the Embarcadero of San Francisco.
San Francisco. It's comfortable, their fashion, but it's not stylish.
Now, Jack, I live in San Francisco and we love it, but I got to admit it, 90% of the population is walking around in Patagonia above the belt and Allbirds below.
Comfortable, but not stylish. That is Allbirds. And it's why every techie has a pair of them.
Now, Allbirds are an innovative shoe. They are made out of plants and they are made out of wool. That is quite a combo.
But they're not for walking the runway at New York Fashion Week.
And they're marketed as sustainable, but really they're perceived as comfortable. Like we said, the lower left quadrant. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Allbirds?
In fashion, you stick to your quadrant.
Yet he's back in 2020 to juice its sales growth. Allbirds launched an apparel line.
They were going to offer a wool cardigan to go with their wool kicks. They made leggings too.
But here's the problem. Leggings and cardigans, those are inherently stylish products.
Yeah, Allbirds with their apparel line, they tried to leap into a new quadrant. The quadrant that's both stylish and comfortable.
And that's the LA quadrant. That's the Los Angeles quadrant, not the San Francisco quadrant.
It's a tough place to be. And it's not what the techie customer base of Allbirds was looking for.
So last year, Allbirds discontinued their leggings and their cardigans. Instead, they're just going to make t-shirts and sweatshirts.
Because Allbirds can't defy the key rule of fashion.
In fashion, you stick to your quadrant. Jack, can you whip up the takeaways for us for our first pod back?
Silicon Valley Bank went under. It's gone because it had mo money, mo problems.
But so far, our system hasn't broken. It's actually working.
And our second story is Chick-Fil-A. They're pulling an In-N-Out burger, finally expanding outside of their home territory.
Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out, they're both steak knives in a Swiss Army knife industry.
And our third and final story is Allbirds. They're in retreat after a sales decline and apparel issues.
Look, honey, we don't want to be the ones to say it, but in fashion, you stick to your quadrant. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Kelsey Black from lovely Austin, Texas.
Australia's Great Barrier Reef is the largest coral reef of fish life in the entire planet.
It's a huge reef. It's giant. Maybe you've been there, but maybe you didn't know this.
It's the only reef in the ocean that has a mailbox.
It's got to be the only place in the ocean that's got its own mailbox too, right, Jack?
That's true. The Great Barrier Reef actually has a mailbox.
Yeah, like 50 miles offshore in the Agincourt Reef section of the reef, you will find a mailbox nailed into the reef.
Yeah, so if you're snorkeling and you have the urge to send a postcard, you can drop that postcard in the mailbox in the middle of the ocean, and some postal worker will boat over, grab it, and send it where it has to go.
Now, we don't know the stamp situation on this thing, but
if you get a postcard post-stamped at the Great Coral Reef,
yeah,
you keep that one.
Yetis, you look fantastic today. Jack, you have never looked better in the 5th day in a row of wearing those sweats.
Are you saying I'm the best one yet?
I think you are a T-boy right now. You're doing great, man.
Nick, that means so much. Also, thanks to you, because I know you did some great work for the company and for the business while I was out.
I had a blast doing it, and that's why we're so lucky to have this job. It was just so much fun, even though I missed you the entire week, man. It was great. Processing payroll was a blast.
The Podfather. Nicely done, man.
So proud of the pod, son. Great work this week, Jack. So happy to see you tomorrow.
Yetis, Nick and I will see you tomorrow.
Can't wait. And before we go, Mark and Carla Garrett just had their anniversary, celebrating it in Cozumel, Mexico.
Happy 1-year anniversary to Kayla and Sam in Eugene, Oregon.
And Erica and Veronica Graves celebrating a 2-year Annie in Chandler, Arizona.
Happy birthday to Alex Graff in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
And Elizabeth Wormser, enjoy that birthday in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Happy 30th birthday to Joe Quad in Monterey.
And a happy 34th birthday to Ben Hu in Erie, Colorado.
Happy birthday to Yossi Felix in Miami Beach, Florida.
And Awa Fofana, happy birthday in Madison, Wisconsin.
And happy birthday to Molly Paul, who's about to have a kid down in Atlanta, Georgia.
And little Dan Ludwig is turning 1 in Orem, Utah.
And happy first birthday to Isaiah Lee in Atlanta, Georgia. This is Jack. Nick owns stock of Beyond Meat, and I own stock of Roku and Roblox, and we both own stock of Robinhood. And now, a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
The beauty of American finance, it's that your money works for you.
If you have cash sitting in an account, the financial institution should pay you for it.
Yeah, but not all do. Like some accounts won't pay you anything for your cash.
Robinhood will pay you for your uninvested cash.
In fact, with Robinhood Gold, your money will work hard for you, generating 4.15% APY, one of the highest rates.
For $5 a month, Robinhood Gold sets no limit on how much cash you can put in, and you can invest or withdraw anytime. Terms apply.
To get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and get your first free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOI.
Certain limitations apply. Rate is subject to change. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Robinhood is not a bank.